on my show on Overtime, we talked to Sam Panayotovich, who does BetQL and all that stuff. And my producer I said to him, I was like, are there odds out already for, Ben Johnson to be Coach of the Year, right? Because they have put that stuff out or whatever. And he reminded us that last year, Flus was the favorite.
I know.
To be Coach of the Year.
I actually put money on him to be
Did
Coach
you
of the
really?
Year. Yeah. Was that the worst bet ever?
Well, no, not the worst, and it wasn't good.
I was thinking about that on the way in. I'm like, oh boy, yeah, that was a terrible bet. Listening to
again, but this brings us back to the fact that people are gaga over Ben Johnson. Like, we've all been duped by this before, so let's just all chill.
That's why I was really surprised how many guys in our business let their emotions and their tingly panties get in the way of a really
Now, why would you pick that description?
Well, because there's another description. I don't think it would be appropriate for me to say.
You're right. Okay.
And you know what I'm thinking.
I do. Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I just found it funny. But am I excited about it? Absolutely. Do I think it's a great hire? Sure. Yes.
I'm anxious to see how his staff comes together because of I felt like he wants people who have experience that things he doesn't know so that he can learn things. So I'm interested to see how this staff comes together. We did hear last night that Antoine Randall L. will be his assistant head coach.
Local guy.
And wide receiver. Yeah.
TF, Indiana. Yeah. He's, Antoine Randall L. he is quite a outgoing.
Oh, I love it.
It's awesome.
I love it. Good.
I remember when he was playing for the Steelers, and he would come back into Chicago often in the off season and did a lot of stuff back here in Chicago. So I would think he is thrilled.
Oh my goodness, what a treat.
Back home.
What a treat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. But no defensive coordinator yet. Although the talk about Dennis Allen coming, we haven't seen that yet. Offensive coordinator Ian Rappaport was reporting that the Bears interviewed Titans quarterback coach Bo Hardigree for the OC job. He was actually on the staff with Ben Johnson in Miami. Hardigree has worked with developing quarterbacks with the Raiders. He took over play calling in 2023, had a winning record with a rookie as well. So that's an interesting angle. Who else? I was very, very sad to see that John Hoke is not going to be back.
Yeah.
I love him. I think he's a fantastic.
I think he's a really good coach.
Defensive backs coach. But it looks like Cowboys DB coach Al Harris is coming to the Bears as the defensive passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach. Hank Fraley will not be leaving Detroit, the offensive line coach, per his wife's Instagram. She posted, that we're staying in Detroit. Okay. And Lions assistant quarterback coach J.T. Barrett is expected to come to Chicago as the quarterback's coach. He's the former Ohio State quarterback. So interesting names that are coming out, but it's a little slow. I was a little surprised.
Yeah, it is a little bit. But let's just recognize the fact that on Saturday, Ben Johnson was preparing the Lions to play a playoff game, and 48 hours later, he was announced as the head coach. It's been a whirlwind.
Amazing.
A whirlwind.
So you know what I was thinking about? If you read Adam John's article in The Athletic about Ben Johnson, and there was a phrase, just a setup phrase, talking about he was sitting in the conference room at Lions headquarters doing the Zoom interview. Oh, you know what? Maybe it wasn't Adam Johns. It was Dan Wiederer. Okay. Went through the timeline. That's it. It was Dan Wiederer. And said he was in a conference room doing his interview with the Bears on Zoom. The next 3-4 days later, he's coaching in a game. 6 days later, blah, blah, blah. And I thought to myself, when George McCaskey said the very first thing out of Ben Johnson's mouth on the Zoom interview was, I want this job.
Yeah.
The last thing out of his mouth before they turned the cameras off was, I want this job. Mm-hmm. So all I could think of is, could you imagine walking the halls of
And hearing that?
Ford Field or wherever their offices are, and hearing your offensive coordinator like animatedly being in this conference room, and you walk by and you hear, I want this job. Chicago is a special place. Wouldn't that be
Oh, my word.
something for other Lions staffers?
Yeah.
Like it's an awkward kind of thing.
It's
like you're
so
interviewing,
awkward. Right.
you have to sell yourself for each of those interviews you're doing.
Yes, I would imagine those are closed door Zooms, but
But I would still think, you're saying he said more about Chicago than I think.
he was paying attention.
It was about the city and about the roster and about the people running the organization. Then I think that we heard. From others. I'm giggling because
Why?
one person in the media with a microphone heard what I was saying, and I think he might have quoted Aaron Rodgers in his text to me. RELAX.
That's fantastic.
You know who it is.
Yeah, I do know who it is. Yeah. That is awesome. But no, it is awkward. But at the same time, Peggy, it was happening to Aaron Glenn. It was happening to other people on their staff. They knew this was all coming. So I don't know that it was that out of the box. I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how he puts it all together. But I'm tempering my enthusiasm just a tiny bit.
I have also noticed another about face from many members of the media, and how Kevin Warren went from being made fun of all the time for his faith-related comments at events and public places where he's at, and to all of a sudden getting the credit for taking the reins and making sure that the Bears are in the 21st century. I'm sorry, but I believe we had this conversation 4 weeks ago about Kevin Warren, and I said he is trying to bring this organization into a C-suite type of organization. And, everybody was still making fun of Kevin Warren. And now they're like, well, look at what Kevin Warren is. Look at the imprint he's made on. I mean, my gosh. We should all be, we should just keep track of what everybody says one day and how everyone turns it
around the next day. I mean, there's
a lot of flip-flopping going on.
Of course. It will always be like that. It was it was interesting when he was asked about Poles and Ben Johnson being aligned in their contracts. He's like, I think you'll see we're all aligned, and I just kind of like, okay, well, you're not, but Ben Johnson has to have, if he has a lot of success, I think they will be contractually.
I don't know anything. I haven't talked to anybody, but I have a gut feeling that if it hasn't already been done, it will be done very quickly. An extension for Ryan Poles that does align him. I think
it hasn't.
I think there's a chance
it could have been already.
Yes, I do. I do. I think that there is a
chance. Why wouldn't they just say
that because they don't have to.
Okay.
Because they don't have to. And I think that maybe going into the interviews, they wanted to make sure. But, Ben Johnson did say that wasn't a big deal for him.
Which is so interesting because there were so many rumors when they were like, oh, the Bears want to pursue him, but he wants to have his own GM. Like, I didn't get that vibe at all.
He said in the interviews, he's like, that is not me at all.
Right.
So, I want to go back and see where those came from. Like, the people that were quoting that and reporting that. That was like... Now you find out, he goes, oh, no, that's not me. That wasn't me at all to be like that. I would not ask for something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.